Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it may be for you. Happy Garden Day. I'm doing this on a live stream so that I can get from one end of my garden to the other. I typically make shorts to show people specific things because a short can only be made up to 3 minutes. I never really get from one end of my garden to the other end of my garden without having to dash around. So I'm doing it live so I can do it a little bit slower. If I pre-record it, it takes an extremely long time for the video to download onto the internet, and sometimes it doesn't happen successfully. And I guess that's what happens in small city living. But nonetheless, excuse me, nonetheless, someday I'll have the fiber optic internet to where it is that I'm living, wherever that may be at the time, and things could change. So I'm going to start over here. This I referred to as my nightshade garden. And it's my nightshade garden because I have plants in here that are from the nightshade family. I have two different varieties of tomatoes. I have Rutger tomatoes and I have cherry tomatoes. And I have eggplant. They are all part of the nightshade family. So here I am on this project. I have a 20-foot long bed here, which is two 10-footers that are 2 feet wide. And that's going to help as a retainer for the soil when I fill in here, where I have this little excavation and I'm putting a driveway in eventually. I'm just roughing it in at this point. I have soil that's left over from the utility workers. They had given me 6 to 8 yards of soil. The remainder is over here. This is what I'm going to start filling the beds, the last of the beds in that are in the nightshade garden, even though they're not all nightshades that are going to be here. This is the next one I'm going to fill in. Hopefully I'm going to get to doing this or some of this today, at least getting it started, and get the liner in place, get the pots in place, because for each zucchini plant, I'm going to have one of these 3-gallon pots that I'm going to put inside the bed after I have the liner, and I'm going to fill in and around it. So I have a situation similar to this. And what this does is this makes it so I can make more growing room in a confined space in the raised bed garden. So technically, the clay soil that's in there will act like adobe. In the early spring and in the fall, it'll help to retain heat and have consistent heat for the root system. Through the summertime, it will help reflect some of the heat, even though it absorbs heat, it also deflects heat. It releases heat. So nonetheless, it makes it a more consistent type environment for the plants. Now, the pots that are in there are just rings. I cut the bottoms out of them. So after I formed the area in the bed in the clay soil, I removed the pots, which were similar to these ones, filled with the clay soil, and I removed those and I put the ones that had the bottom cut out, and I filled them up with soil up to close to the surface of where the clay soil is. And that's the state that these are in right now. And as they grow up and out of the pots, these ones were planted earlier, I pulled the ring up. So it's farther up on the out of the ground. And it can be done anywhere 4 to 6 inches. And essentially, the height of these rings, they came up to the surface of where the first layer of soil was. Then I put another layer of soil in place. And I also added some additional fertilizer because there's going to be an entire new root zone growing where the new soil was put in. And this soil is mixed soil. It's 50% coco coir, it's 50% native soil, and it's 10-10-10 fertilizer, anywhere from a half a cup to a full cup for each batch, which I use 5-gallon batches, 5 gallons of Coco Coir, 5 gallons of native soil, and 1 cup of 10-10-10 fertilizer. Other times I do 3-gallon batches of 3 gallons of Coco Coir, 3 gallons of native soil, and a half a cup of 10-10-10 granular fertilizer. So here I just got more beds in place. These ones are tall beds. They're 18 inches tall instead of 1 foot tall, and those are for root crops. They're going to be for carrots, parsnips, daikon radishes, things of that nature. And what I'm doing here is I'm building about twice as much raised bed space as I intend on gardening, so that as time progresses, and it'll probably be next year, and I'm expecting a pretty good harvest here and get to see what the production is, and I can see if it'll be smart to get doing that starting next year, because it's all based on the quality of the soil that I'm creating here. If the quality is good enough to get good enough production with half of it planted, then we'll be adding manure. There's a gentleman that I know that is going to bring me a trailer load of manure. He has sheep and he has chickens, and he's brought it to me before, and I'm going to start adding that. And what I'll do is I'll add it to the soil I first add it into the mixed soil. I screen it. I get the pellets out of it because there's a lot of pellets in it, and I dry out the pellets in the sun. I put those to the side. I then use the soil that has all the fine parts in it, because there's at least half, or maybe about half, that has fine parts that are that comes from the barn, from where the straw was, and where the animals were doing their business, and it gets all mixed in, and they pee on the sawdust or whatever it is that he has in there at the time, and it gathers up nitrogen, and it gathers things up that are good for the garden. But there's even more organic stuff in the pellets themselves, but I set those to the side. So the first time I use it, I just use the fines out of it. I dry out the pellets, I bag out the pellets in order to add them to the garden. So when this stuff first comes, which should be the end of the summer and into the fall time, I'll do that procedure and that process. So all the beds will get the fine material added into the garden. And then I'll have the pellets to the side to add in afterwards. When I add the pellets in, I'll add those in for the garden to just sit throughout that first year that the pellets are added, so that they can decompose into the soil and help build up the organic matter in the soil. And I can even add things like the cover crop. I'm doing peas as a cover crop, which are peas that I buy from the grocery store, not from the seed sellers, because it's under $2 for a 1 pound bag of whole peas at the supermarket, and they go pretty far. So anyhow, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to hopefully alternate starting next year, of one bed, one half of the area that I got made. So this is a 16-foot long bed, so I'll just have an 8-foot section of bed that I plant tomatoes, and an 8-foot section of bed that just sits idle over the course of the year. And that will allow the manure to break down in the gardening area. So anyhow, back to this. I have Egyptian walking onions planted along this fence. This 28-foot row of Egyptian walking onions. They're coming in pretty good. I'll reach out there. They have bulbils growing on them, which are these little red onions, and that's what you use to transplant. Left on their own, the plant bends over and plants those, and they grow. So back to this. I got this extra soil gathered up, and that soil that I have in the pile over there. Hopefully I'll get to that today. And then this is the second area that I'm going to do. I don't even know what I'm going to plant in it, but it has to get filled. So I'm filling in these shorter ones, the 1 foot beds. This is 2 more sections that are 2 feet by 10 feet each. So that's another 20 lineal feet. And then I have over in this end of the garden, 2 foot wide bed that I put together as one piece that's 20 feet long. That's only 1 foot tall. So then that's the next one that will get filled up. And then I still got this here, the doubles. It's not really double, it's 18 inches, not 2 feet. But the taller beds, which I have a total of 3 of them, 2 on the front, 1 on the side. So I have to fit those in too, which I'm currently waiting on more soil to come. Another group of utility workers I spoke with said that they're going to bring me quite a bit of soil. It hasn't started yet, but who knows why the delay. They're not going to call me and tell me about it. I mean, they're doing me a favor. It gives them a place to bring their soil. The guy had told me that they had a meeting that morning, and they were talking about adding sand to the soil. So they may be even not just giving me free soil, but also improving it before they deliver it to me. Now, how great is that? So this row right here, this is my longest single row. It's 48 feet long. I'm probably going to be making another one in front of it here as soon as next year, which is just going to be moving the 2 24-foot rows that I have in that area over there. But this area here, I have banana peppers in the front. There's 2 plants for every 2 feet. So 48 foot long, there's 48 banana pepper plants, which is a lot of banana pepper plants. And their companion plant is Diva cucumbers on the backside. So I try to have 3 at each 2 foot section. I had to replant. I'm waiting for the seeds that I replanted to come up. And if they don't come up, it doesn't really matter. I can always replant in the end of the summertime if I want to and do a second crop, but I should get plenty enough even with the missing plants in this row for my usage and some to share, because that's what I like to do. I like to share. So anyhow, especially like with the guy that supplies manure to me for free and hauls it out here in his trailer. I mean, I really should share with him and his family as things come in. And I'm hoping to have more production than I've ever had here, so I can bring a substantial amount to them. And I also put free vegetables out in front of my house for people to have. Just like when my seedlings are all done being planted, my extra seedlings go out in front of my house with a sign, free plants. And I did a free plant giveaway a couple weeks ago, and I gave away 150 tomato plants. And even one family was interested in pepper plants because they got pepper plants from me last season when they got their tomato plants. And I hooked them up with an order of pepper plants when I was planting these peppers. So they got a nice batch of pepper plants and eggplants. So in this row, I have bell peppers. More specifically, they're called giant bell peppers, emerald giant bell peppers. And on the back side, I have stringless green beans. Now, I went with the stringless green beans because the blue lakes that I planted last season were very stringy, which kind of surprised me because they're considered the top commercial crop. And the commercial green beans that I purchase at the store that are frozen They're not stringy like the ones that I grew, but it's probably my own fault. I left them on the vine too long, is what I'm suspecting. But these are coming along. They're really starting to build a root system up there because they're popping up out of the soil pretty good. So I got the Emerald Giants. This is a 24-foot long bed, 2-foot wide total. So there's 24 pepper plants. Same thing with the row right behind it. It's the same scenario. So this row got 24 pepper plants to the south side, which is back there. They're the smallest plants. And then it has the row of stringless green beans. And they have, what do I have in the stringless green beans? 4. I have 4 of them per 2 feet. So at 4 for every 2 feet, this row has 48 of them. That row has 48 of them. That's 96 green beans. Well, sometimes these things produce pretty good. That's going to be a lot of green beans there. So off to the next section. Going past my drying area where I have cocoa coir drying, and I'm going to mix up a new batch of cocoa coir, add water to it, expand it, and lay it out so it dries, so it's not sopping wet, so I can mix it with my native soil. These are broccolis. This is part of my last planting of broccolis here. These ones were seedlings, started in my house, and there's 48 of those. And then there's 48. Actually, there's more than 48 because there's a lot of doubles in here. But 48 planting areas here that were planted by seed. They're all mulched in, ready to go. If I move over to the next row, this next row, I have Amish paste tomatoes, and I have 16 of those. On my work schedule here, I get the cages in place. I was putting the stakes in place yesterday. I ran out of the 6-foot tall ones, so I had to use the 5-foot tall ones that I had on hand because the 6-foot ones that I purchased, there's none available right now. So I use the 5-footers just so I can get this together, and I'll get the 6-footers when they have more available. These are the cages that I made. They're actually 4 feet tall. I had said earlier that they were 5 feet tall, but they're not. They're 4 feet tall fence. And this is cattle fence. So it has 9-inch by 9-inch squares starting on the bottom, or 8-inch by 9-inch squares, something like that. And they get progressively smaller as they get up to the top, up to here. So anyhow, I put the small section on the top so I can get and access the plant through the larger openings on the bottom, and I'm going to end up leaving them in place. Once these are all tied together, I don't have to move them at the end of the season. I just got to cut the plants off of the cages and off of the fence at the end of the season, which will be better because it'll be less for me to do the following season. So these ones are beefsteak tomatoes. I got 16 of them. Like I said, I'll be cutting these amount planted in half. So I got 4 varieties total of the tomatoes, and currently there's 16 each, so that's 64 plants. That's a lot of tomato plants. Cut it in half down to 32. That's still a lot, but it's exceptionally a lot at 64. If those come in, I'll be composting tomatoes too, which isn't a terrible thing either. Because one of the theories in composting is you compost the fruits and vegetables that are grown in any given area to add the exact proper nutrients required to regrow those fruits and vegetables. So there is a science to it that's very logical. But anyhow, these are my snow pea rows. I have 2 of these. They're both planted the same on the north side of snow peas. And it's the same as the green bean ones. I try to get 4 in each 2-foot bin, which would be 48 in each row of snow peas plants. And these peppers are Greek hot peppers, also known as pepperoncinis. And I have 2 in each 2-footer. So I have 24 of those in this row. I have 24 in these. Plus I got a couple spots that the plants died off. So I got to add a couple more in here. I added the other ones, but there were a couple more that were on the edge, and they went over the edge and dried up and died off on me. So I'll get a couple more in there. I have extras on hand. And this is my broccoli. This is Goliath broccoli. It's a new variety I'm trying this year. And I have 2 rows of it. There's 60 plants in each row, so there's a substantial amount of that. And I started noticing I have broccoli crowns starting. Where did I see them? There's a little one right there. There's a little broccoli crown starting there. There's the leaves are starting to form in the center where the broccoli crowns will start. So any day now they should be popping up all over the place. But for now, there's only a few in these rows. But there's some pretty substantial looking plants. This variety of Goliath broccoli is supposed to grow up to 1 pound broccoli crowns, which would be awesome. That's twice as big as the other variety I was growing, which would grow 8-ounce broccoli crowns, or up to 8-ounce broccoli crowns. There's another tiny one, so they're in there. I'm going to come out here one day, and there's going to be a whole bunch of them that have popped up. There's the little leaves all curled up in there. But I know there's a couple that are already here. Oh, there's one. There's one that's in there. That guy's going. But it's a smaller plant, so it's probably not going to get to a 1 pound size. But there's a few more of those in and around these rows here. I always like to check the progress on what's going on. And here's another one. There's another one that's well underway. So anyhow, that's what I got in those rows. I got the Goliath broccoli, and I have these rows here of elephant garlic that I started back in 21. But I'm going to end up giving up on these because these came from Sam's Club, actually. Just bags of peeled garlic out of the refrigerator section, and I've been growing them since 2021. But I don't know the variety that they are. And I want to grow stuff that I know what the varieties are, because I'm going to grow different kinds of them. Because that's a good crop to get going, the large garlics, and grow them and regrow them and do it abundantly, like I'm doing with these Egyptian walking onions. I'm getting to the point that I have so many Egyptian walking onions, I'll never have an onion issue again. These things are almost bulletproof. These Egyptian walking onions grow these things called bulbils on the top. You know, like little onions. There's one right here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's at least 5. That might be a 6th one in there for one plant. For one plant. So 5 times as many bulbils, and I still get the onion bulb that's in the ground. They're not as big as regular onions, but there's a lot of them. And you plant these in the fall time, the late summer fall time, and they will handle drought conditions. They will handle down to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit and continue on growing. And that's awesome. That makes it easy. It makes it super easy. And again, the only issue with them is the bulbs are on the smaller side, and some people don't want to peel as many bulbs for eating. But, you know, I do things on a production mindset. So, you know, I can pull these all up in the late summer and take all my onion bulbs at one time and slice them up and dice them up and put them in the freezer. And that's the way to handle that. There are other people that do that. These are my rutabagas that I replanted. They were my leftover rutabagas from last fall. I ate all of them that I was going to eat, and I had some left over. So I planted them out here in the springtime, and they went to seed. And I want to save the seeds. That's why I have them like this. I don't think they're quite ready yet. They feel solid. I think they should be feel more like beans with their seeds in the pod. So I'll just wait. No harm done. I'll just wait, see what happens. See if they get like dry, which I expect that they would get dry like beans, so I can get the seeds out of them. And they're an heirloom variety, so they'll be the same kind of plant. And it's not that I'm struggling for seeds for rutabagas. Heck, I bought a package of 10,000 seeds, and I've only used a couple hundred since I got them. But they will get to the point. They will get to the point where the germination will get very low, the germination rate. So I just want to get used to the system of saving heirloom seeds. Now here are my green peas that I'm growing as a cover crop, because these are going to be more beds for Egyptian walking onions. After the harvest happens, I'm going to add, you know, an excess of, it's actually going to be more than 5 times, because the plant split into 4 onions, like scallions, not scallions, the heck are those? I forget the name of them. There's another type of onion that, shallots. They're like shallots in size. So there's 4 of them. So multiply it times 4. I started with 50, multiply it times 4, that's 200. Then you can get anywhere from 4 to 20 of the bulbils on each of those plants. So the multiplication factor is huge. So back here to the cover crop of the green peas. These are green peas that are purchased at the grocery store. And it's a nice cost-effective way of doing ground cover. It's under $2 for a bag of green peas. You know, even though for decades they were $1 or just under $1. But nonetheless, by nowadays standards, it's still under $2 in a lot of places that I've seen them. So those are the green peas, and these ones are the yellow peas that I have in this horseshoe-shaped bed. Like I said, they're all ground cover, but they're also edible too. I mean, if there was a problem going on at this time about finding food, where, I mean, food is expensive right now and everything's expensive, so it makes it difficult on people supplying themselves with food. These are all edible. These pea tendrils are all edible. As a matter of fact, they're sold in fancy restaurants. It's a more of like a delicacy nowadays. It's a microgreen. And that, you know, that's a lot of pea tendrils. That's an awful lot of pea tendrils. And after they get taller, I'll cut them off the top. That way I want them so the plants are big enough that they'll continue on after I cut the tops off. If I cut them down now, I think they'll be too low and they won't continue growing, and I don't want to kill them off. But thank you for stopping by, and happy Garden Day. I'll keep you updated. See you around later.